But here we go, the first Spectrum post. And I'm actually quite interested in this one because the Spectrum post itself, I've just moved the microphone closer to my mouth because I noticed it was getting a bit quieter. It shouldn't be. So this post here, I've already linked it for you all to read on your own or follow along at home. But we're going to go through this now. So this one is from E with the wheelbarrow at the end. I'm not going to... rat. Yeah, I can't pronounce that. E-rat. I'll just call him that for now. And it's titled Higher Escorts and Profit Margins. And it starts... So I thought this was an interesting post. And they're talking about earning rates and trading. I actually should react to that one too. Should I react to the earning... I'm actually interested. I'm going to just open it. Fuck it. I want to read this one. Did it open? No, it didn't. That's alright. Oh my god. What the fuck is this? Fucking nerds. Get out of here with your nerd shit. Alright, here we go. Earning rates and trading. We'll go back to the previous one in a moment. So, this is the catalyst for the one that we're actually reacting to. I'll split this text into several parts to add two images. A crude model of trading follows. Decision theory part, e.g. details of avoiding bankruptcy in the initial phase of trading and such are omitted. And then we've got all this, essentially a small legend of what the different symbols represent. V equals 10 MA UEC, don't even know what that is. P0 equals 0.15 or 15% of the profit investment. Q0... Like, is there more to this? So trading, like, oh my god, these people need to calm down with this shit. There is a follow-up comment. So a trading run may have three potential outcomes: clean run, some losses by pirate taxation, or catastrophic loss of all. Let's see how variables Q1, P1, Q2, chance of being taxed, the tax, and chance of losing all affect the two earning rates. Below is a flowchart of the events and earning rate equation, which is this. I'm assuming that old mate replied. Yeah, here we go. He continued. They continue. Alright, so they started off here. Obviously, we've got a continuum line here that goes from left to right. And we've got different pathways that happen. So Q0, Q1, Q2. Success with profit, some losses, total loss. So Q1 is supposed to represent that the pirates extorted or ransomed you. Q2 would be that you lost everything, and Q0 is you managed to sell it all. Alright, we come down here, and they're finishing off. The results are here. One should make at least 100,000 alpha UEC per hour, since that is a quite standard rate of a skillful, well-prepared, and motivated player. One gets a max tolerated limit of piracy intensity. Q1 divided by... So, yeah, Q1 times 70% plus Q2 times 10% is less than 1 for 5% pirate taxation rate. What? What the fuck? What 5% taxation rate? Was that up here? No. Where the fuck did they get this 5% from? Is it supposed to be 5% or 50? Because they say 50 down here and this is 5% up here. And then we get some max tolerated limit of piracy intensity. But they're assuming that you're getting extorted or ransomed in both instances, but the rate that you're paying at varies. So it's either between 50 to 70%. What is Q2 supposed to be? I'm going to do my head in trying to work this out. I'm guessing this graph here probably explains it a bit better. But Q1 is a chance of pirates interdicting you, and Q2 a chance of you losing the whole cargo. Repeating here the definitions in above post. The maximum earning rate without piracy is 450,000 alpha UEC, but even 5% chance of 30k raises it to below 30,000 alpha UEC per hour. Is one can stand some piracy but not too much unless one wants to roleplay trading with negative earning rate. It's a whole lot of math. It's a whole lot of math to explain something that's... You don't really need math to explain. It just comes down to a little bit of something is always better than 100% of nothing. That's it. Alright, and this generated this response. Yeah, it's super cool. It's so awesome. So I thought this was an interesting post, and it's the math one. I used his equation to figure out some things, or to figure some things out. X-axis shows chance you lose everything. It's all 30k. Here are the assumptions. Blue line, every 20 minutes invest 1 million alpha UEC. You'll earn 15%, i.e. 150,000 alpha UEC. 5% chance pirates take half by ransom. Orange line, every 20 minutes invest 1 million alpha UEC to earn 15%. 100% chance your friend takes half your profit. Reduces the chance you lose everything by factor 4. What? 100% chance your friend takes half your profit, reduces the chance you lose everything by a factor of 4. Is this supposed to be a joke? Yellow line, every 20 minutes invest 1 million in UEC, your same investment. 100% chance 2 friends take 67% of your profit. When you aren't pirated, friends reduce the chance you lose everything by a factor of 16. Okay, he's saying friend, but this could mean escorts and turret gunners. The upshot is that the escort/gunners become the rational choice when the chance of losing everything reaches 7 or 8%. My guess is that the rate of total loss to piracy is nowhere near that in the PU. So this is with a 15% profit. Yeah, I love this graph that has nothing being depicted. I'm assuming this is your profit margin. Like, what are these axes supposed to be representing? Alpha UEC per hour with only pirates. So this does not represent time. I know, I feel like either I'm too stupid to work out what these guys are talking about, which is quite possible, or, you know, like these guys are making shit up. What if we increase the profit to 25% of the initial investment? X is chance and Y is profit, Roger. Okay. Higher chance of pirate equals lower profit. There we go. See, that would have helped though in the bloody, you know, description of the axes. So we've got 2%, 4%, 6, 8, 10, and 12% chance of being pirated, and with a 1% chance, or just over 1%, which is where we're starting roughly here, where the cursor is moving up and down. You've obviously got the highest profit margin, and as you increase it, don't know where they got 12% from though. Yeah, 0.1 is 10%. They're basically trying to say no escorts equals higher profits even with piracy. Well, actually, I don't think they're saying that at all, because the blue line here is the amount that they're making regardless, you know, like without friends, you know, they call them friends. So even a 12% chance of a piracy encounter means that you're gonna get nothing out of it. I don't know how they came to that conclusion, but whatever. I think they'll still base it off old mate's data in the other one, which I don't understand their equation. The yellow line, okay, so the orange line here is friends reduce complete loss by 4 times for a 50% cut. 50% cut of the profit margin. So right here, you can kind of see it where the cursor is. Where orange and blue lines intersect, that's 7%, right? That's a 7% piracy encounter, where not having an escort and having one escort results in pretty much the same profit margin. Whereas at 8%, if you have, 2 friends, why did they change the cut percentages though? Unless they're going, okay, so they're treating it like 3 parties involved with this transaction, so your 2 friends take 33% each, which ends up being the 67% cut. So at 8%, you're looking at your profit margin being at 150,000, but we have no idea how many pirates are actually kicking around. But the interesting values is that as the number of pirates increase, the higher the chances of you keeping your profit margin. So there's a point. It starts making sense using turret gunners and escorts. So once you got over 8% saturation of pirates, you start needing more people. So at 7%, you're making the same profit margin if you had nobody there. But if you're at 8% and you had one person there, your profit margin, technically, while still lower, you're not going to be anywhere near as bad off as if you had no turret gunner or escort, or if you had 2 turret gunners or 2 escorts, right? So that's the yellow line represented there. But if it goes up to 9%, here the blue line starts dipping further down and the yellow and the orange line start becoming more important. So for us, like Nelson was saying it as a joke, the chance of making profit is 0, but realistically, when we're on the server, we would be the ones creating that, 9 to 10% moving forward. But I believe that this graph is made in reference to the entire player base. So, like if we had a 12% piracy player base, you've got no chance of making any credits if you're by yourself. But if you have a friend or a couple of, escorts there, you're going to make profit. Well, at 12% piracy saturation, a 12% chance of encounter with pirates, you're not going to make anything. But that's if you're by yourself. That's what they're talking about here, right? All right, we made sense of it. Took us a while. Clear as mud? I hope so. All right, next one with a 25% profit margin. Well, that's the thing, Metatron. Like, that's why I'm concerned. That's why I'm concerned about this shit. Seeing, people just pull out these numbers, because it's like, okay, cool. Where are you getting all this data from? So your profit margins are higher, but even then, like, the interesting part is that having more people with you at a 12% piracy, a 12% chance of a piracy encounter, having more people with you ends up not being as, you're not as well off according to this chart. Whereas if you have one person with you, you are. But the more people that you add to it, I don't know, like this doesn't feel right. That is true, Metatron. Like, escorts are only as good as the pilots in the ships. Same with turret gunners. They're only as good as their aim. But I think there's a lot of assumptions being made with these posts. Alright, now this is how they finish. This was a surprising result to me. Yes, with a higher profit margin, the trader can afford to hire escorts, but the chance of piracy needs to be higher for it to be a rational choice. With 15% profit, the piracy rate needs to be at least 7%, but with a 25% profit, the piracy rate needs to be 10%. So why hire escorts? You hire escorts when your potential profits are small, so total loss cannot be absorbed. It is not true that traders cannot afford escorts. I know they can because I've done both roles, hauler and escort fighter pilot. What is true is that in most PU circumstances, it is not rational to hire escorts. The chance of a total loss to pirates needs to be exceptionally high, while the profit margin needs to be exceptionally low. If you're not convinced, just think of the original jump town. Many people risk total loss for the chance of a score, and they could afford it because the margins were so good. Honestly, like, I want to know how they're coming to these conclusions. Like, why? Why is a 12% piracy rate, going to guarantee, for example, with a 15% profit margin, that you're not going to make anything? Because that, to me, seems like a really small chance encounter with a pirate. And this is supposed to be every 20 minutes as well. Every 20 minutes, invest 1 million alpha UEC to earn 15%. 100% chance takes 2 friends. 100% chance 2 friends take 67% of your profit when you aren't pirated. Friends reduce the chance you lose everything by a factor of 16. Yeah. Oh, it'd have to be fictional examples. Only that though, but what Old Mate's doing is he's validating the use of escorts. He's like, look, it does make sense to use them, especially if the profit margin is where current trade margins are. If you're doing drugs though, like based on, a 20, like the craziest thing is like every 20 minutes you're investing 1 million alpha UEC to earn, 15%, which is 150 alpha UEC, right? So over the course of an hour, you're earning 450 alpha UEC. Like you could get away with that. You could be doing that depending on where you're operating for the legal side of things. So the illegal side of things, though, the 25% profit rate, like the demand can't keep up. Or correction, the supply can't keep up with the demand. So you couldn't sit there and like you could spend a lot of credits on drugs, but you won't make a lot of credits off of them because you couldn't pull them all off in the time frame that CIG has limited drugs in. So I don't see this particular thing like this working in the game, but I think this is more like a theoretical exercise. This kind of ignores the fact, like, if you're making more, pirates will target you. Like, part of the reason why we don't go after drug haulers is not because the bloody profit margins are, too high for them. It's because finding them is, too difficult. So the conclusion is that the profits need to go for escorts to become the rational choice, as the risk of loss would be larger than the cost of splitting profits. Yeah, like, I get that. The problem is, though, is like they're not factoring that your escorts are effective at, stopping the pirates. Then again, I don't think they're actually trying to factor that in. They're just making bold assumptions here. So yeah, blue line is you got pirated. The other problem with this though is like right now, we're all stuck in separate little fish bowls. Like this, like the equations that they've come up with make sense based on the current data that they've got, which is all the pirates are separated from each other. What we may end up seeing is when we get server meshing, like haulers have to, invest in security, not only as a pirates, but because of, competitive haulers who may decide, you know what, I think we'll engage in a bit of piracy when no one's looking. Let's take down some of the competition and all that sort of good stuff. See, it should go up. This is also not, assuming that the commodity rates aren't going to go up as well, and they're not going to fluctuate up and down. Because there's got to be, supply and demand for the trade commodities themselves. I don't know. Like, I feel like they're like, I get what they're trying to get at here. I feel like there's more factors that should be added to this. I look at this particular chart. This is supposed to be the higher profit margin. I don't agree that this is actually accurate. And I think the main reason why is because they're assuming that the chance of a piracy attack is so low. Based on the current, server situation, yeah, like there's still heaps of players out there who have never been pirated, who have been doing the same trade routes as everyone else. Come server meshing, that fucking's changing. Pirates are going to be fighting over the locations just for somebody to pirate. Well, that's just it, Nelson. They're pretty dumb if they didn't. You buy off pirates. Subscribe to Mongrel Prime to get onto our whitelist where you won't get pirated. That's going to be a thing eventually. Alright, I thought this post was going to be a bit more interesting than what it ended up being. But like I quickly flicked through it and I saw the graphs and like, yeah, this kind of looks like it'll be an interesting thing. Here we go. Shieldy. I did hundreds of barrel runs in a C2, 1.5 million invested, 270k profit on each run, and I never encountered a single pirate. In fact, I'd like to meet one of them at least once to see what it's like, but I'd be surprised if you'd be able to pass my size shields before I was in QT. I literally would have lost millions for nothing hiring an escort, so I would never do that. I feel like this person is just talking out their ass. Either that, or they're being barrel hauling on ITA in Hurston. Because if they're put on Microtech, they would have encountered someone. Oh man. Old mate who started the first, like pretty much was the catalyst for this post, responded with this. Look at that. Alright, so we got Goron Car here. If a criminal is trying to extort you with 2 or 3 of their friends, you pay or die. 2 to 3 escorts will be meaningless. They are going to ignore your escorts, concentrate fire on your hauler, blow you up, then run. Unless those escorts are the worst fucking escorts ever and are the, NPC equivalent of players, you can't ignore them. Likely without a scratch return. Next time you will know to pay. The math is silly, really. It's not a math problem, it's a pay or die problem. Escorts will not work against determined criminals. At best, they maybe scare away solo extortionists. Even then, depending on their ship loadout, a solo could destroy the hauler and still escape. Unless these escorts are fucking NPCs, you're gonna get wrecked. And the key to all piracy hits, any sort of interdiction operations, is your quantum enforcement device equipped ships. So if you don't take out that QED, yeah, you're gonna go down. But if you got the escort, like if you got 2 to 3 escorts, send them after the QED ship. Done. If the counter escort ignores the escort, then why are we calling them counter escort? Fucking Spectrum pirate, that's what this one is. An expert of piracy and Spectrum. Oh my god. Regarding multi-crew as it pertains to hiring escorts or crew members, CIG will eventually need to create a comprehensive character sheets or whatever passes for a crew resume similar to the stats you would see if you hit F1 on your mobi-glass. Basically a list of player NPC skill qualifications. Similar to the skill categories we see in the guide system, this can be complemented with a badge achievement system to display training certifications from. Completing skill-based tutorials, that will probably eventually be a thing in the Arena Commander modules. Without this sort of system, I don't see anyone who would ever hire complete strangers without references for any sort of high-value cargo hauling. The risk of subterfuge is so high. This is why organizations exist, and you join an organization that has a good reputation. Or you hire people from an organization that has a good rep. It's super difficult to hire escorts. Not many people want to do it because they can't be fucked flying across the verse to get to you and then returning to what they were doing. And often when you do find 1 or 2 pilots are actually pirates pretending to be escorts, that's happened to me twice. We've done that a couple of times as well. Yeah, that's just it, Blake. Like I haven't been going on Spectrum as much because I've been more busy in game in real life. When there's not much going on in game, I end up frequenting Spectrum more. Oh man. And then it's the usual fucking, rhetoric. Oh, buddy, the combat pilots can already make X amount of credits, by doing their mission. So why would they do the boring thing where they're flying with you all the time? They don't fucking have to be flying with you all the time. They just need to be close enough that they can respond. Like, these people do not know. Like, until they've done some proper piracy against people that are fucking fighting so that you can't take their shit from them, they have no idea about how difficult it can be. Because you're not only chasing someone, you're shooting at a single point, you're making sure that you're not running into your own people, and then you're dealing with a server. And if a shitty server, you're dealing with lag. We normally, our highest casualty rates don't come from the other player killing us in combat, it comes from desync and ships colliding. Because I said desync. Well, Nelson, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the haulers that we've been pirating, but they're pretty much the equivalent of an NPC. And when they alt F4, it's like the NPC crashed. I feel like this particular post, there was some good intention there, but getting the data off of what we've got now and not what we're going to get in the future. The chances of piracy encounters happening is a lot smaller now because we're spread out across so many servers. CIG could be running 1,000 servers and you've only got 5 pirate crews able to move between, 5 of them at a time. This is one of the reasons why we switched to server scouting. Before in Mongrel Squad, we never used to do server scouting because we'd focused on stalking targets, hunting targets down, stalking them in stealth, and then, hitting them once we found a target. Problem is, though, is that the player base has increased for Star Citizen. The active player base has increased, which means more servers get spun up. The servers have high populations. So we now need to cover more servers that have high populations, but quite a few of those players are probably not doing cargo hauling. So we need a way of being able to spread ourselves out across multiple servers. Server scouting is nothing new. It's been done for fucking years. We just didn't really focus on it in Mongrel Squad because we'd rather focus on skills that would help us when we got server meshing. But, you know, stealth is broken, and we find a lot of the times when we're looking for targets to pirate, we're not finding them on the servers that we're on. The craziest thing is that my alt account that I do the pack rat and the cartel stream with, I have seen more haulers around Hurston than I have ever seen on my main account for the 3.19 patch. Now, I don't know if that's because of some crazy matchmaking that CIG has going in the background, and because I players a lot, they consider that as like a PvP leaning type player, so they try and matchmake me join servers with other PvP leaning type players. But on my alt account, like, I don't do any combat on it, and I'm seeing more haulers on it. So I don't know, like, you know, I could be wrong, I could just be crazy, you know, making shit up in my head, but honestly, you know, I'm starting to think that there's some matchmaking going on in the background, and you do enough piracy, but you start getting moved onto servers where you've got a higher chance of encountering players who are willing to fight, and not all of them are doing hauling. So then what? You join servers that don't have haulers on them, and then you're like, I'm a pirate and I'm looking for someone to pirate, but I can't pirate anyone because I keep getting put on servers with people who don't do anything that's worth pirating. But yeah, once again, that's just a theory, batshit crazy theory. I'm pretty confident that that's not the case. Alright, that's that one there. An interesting little journey.